I'm talking to Thomas Ricks. He is a winner of the Pulitzer Prize for his reporting in 2000, the author of Fiasco. His latest is The Gamble, about the 2006-2008 period, the so-called surge. I want to talk about what was happening on the ground. You said that the most important part of the surge is the change in, I guess, tactics, insofar as the troops would be out amongst the population. What was the impact of that integration?
Well, those three factors are important. You also had some sort of conditioning factors that led up to it. By the time the surge began, the ethnic cleansing of Baghdad was largely complete. You had a few sort of Sunni zoos left under protection of the American military who made sure that Shiite death squads didn't go into them. You also had the Sunni awakening beginning, which is basically the Americans going to the Sunni insurgency and saying, hey, how about if we pay you not to kill us? And the insurgents say, okay. The Americans were willing to cut a separate deal, a separate peace. The Baghdad government, dominated by the Shiites, hated that deal. And then, the redisposition of American troops out into the population. If you actually go out and live among the population, you're present, you can respond much more quickly, you can see and prevent intimidation, and you begin to know and understand people. I was talking to one unit about moving out from the big base to this little outpost, and they had to fight their way to the outpost. The enemy really didn't want to see this happen. Some units were hitting 50 bombs on their way to the outpost. They were getting hit by rocket-propelled grenades and mortars. These guys were in a firefight in the street. In the middle of the fight, a sergeant, the platoon sergeant, realized there were two Iraqi kids paralyzed with fear standing in the street. He gets up, runs over, tucks one under each arm, and rolls into a corner to protect them. Soldier said later, that's when we won that firefight. Not killing the enemy, but showing the people, not telling them, that we were there to protect them. Once people began seeing that, after years of empty American promises, people promising that they'd protect them and then being back at the base, these guys stuck around. Suddenly the Americans were no longer imperial stormtroopers getting out of armored vehicles all covered in mask and armor. Suddenly they were people you could actually recognize. The troops began learning Arabic, talking to people.
It's the community policing theory.
Community policing is a big part of it, but also another part of it is a willingness to compromise, to negotiate, and to cut deals. There are people on the American payroll who have killed American troops. Community police wouldn't do that.
Right.
One of my favorite parts of the book is the story of Captain Sam Cooke. It was a captain in the 3rd Armored Cavalry Regiment. And he began talking to a local insurgent who boasted he had planted 200 bombs against the Americans. Actually, who had been radicalized into insurgency by the Abu Ghraib prisoner abuse scandal. And Cooke sits down with this guy and they begin talking. Now, in former years, an American captain who found an insurgent would kill or capture him and ship him off. Cooke decided not to do that. He decided to talk to him. Why? Because he wanted to turn the entire network, not just the one individual, and he wanted the guy to cooperate. And the guy's radically anti-American. He says at one point, America is the devil. There is nothing America does that is good. Cooke says, but you watch the movie Titanic. Because he knows all Iraqis have watched Titanic. And the insurgent says, yeah, of course I watched Titanic. 7 times. I cry every time when DiCaprio slips in the water at the end. And that begins a sort of meeting of minds. At the end of it, the insurgent does turn himself in, brings in his network, and says, by the way, the sniper rifle I have, given to me by an Iraqi army major. The reason you never caught me, whenever you guys come into our neighborhood, the Iraqi police call me. By the way, there's where we built the car bombs. There's where we built these bombs. This is how things work. Cooke said it was like somebody turned on the lights. That's actually how you can turn things around. The problem is, by the time we started getting things right in Iraq, things had gone wrong for so long. There was a lot of distrust, sectarian differences had deepened. And to see this thing through is almost a generational thing. We could be there a very long time.